Hi everybody, Armored Pants here, and I have another video for you. This one is maybe the most important video that you will watch over the Christmas period. I don't say that because it's one of mine, but because of its content, and it's about scouting and spotting. Now we're going to have a look at some gameplay, and we're going to discuss the importance of this, but there's going to be some preamble where I'm going to really discuss about the state of play in the game at the moment and why I believe this video and the content of this video and its topic is so important. So here I'm driving a light tank, right? Now, I've said many times before, I believe the light tank is the most influential and perhaps the most important type of tank in the game. And it's for this reason, because it is the eyes of the team. Its job is to spot, like this. If this is done correctly, then you have a far better chance of winning a game than if it's not done. But what have we been seeing so often in the game recently? We know that matchmaking, for example, is just broken right now. It's just not working. We also know that, the teams are so unbalanced. But one of the things that we've really noticed is that this guy here, the light tank, regardless of what type of light tank it is or what tier, is really not doing its job. And I don't know if it's because due to fatigue or whatever we've forgotten, or that really experienced players are not playing light tanks anymore, or that people have just forgotten the importance of it, or that I really don't know what the problem is. But I thought it was really important that we get back on topic and discuss the importance of scouting and spotting and how to do it. It's basic mechanics. So there's going to be a basic tutorial on it in this. I have a much more detailed tutorial on spotting, scouting, camo, etc. in the light tank guide, and I'll put a link in the description for that. But this video will stand alone. I will give you all the basic information you need. Now, there's been so many games in Blitz recently because of the matchmaking that are 0-7-7-0 or 6-0 or 5-0, right? Now, you may think, okay, well, even if you're winning 7-0, so what, right? Well, if you're an experienced blitzer, right, winning 7-0 is useless to you as well. Because, if you're in a slow-moving heavy or a slow-moving TD, you can win 7-0 and do no damage, or do very little damage, and therefore your average damage and all your other statistics that you've worked so hard to get are going down. If you are losing 7-0, your win rate's going down, but sometimes you're doing like 3-4k damage, but still losing. So some of your stats are going up, some of your stats are going down, depending. But basically, if you enjoy the game of Blitz, you want to have competitive games because that helps you to be a better player, and it helps you to improve your stats. Winning 7-0 is no different in terms of your enjoyability of the game, and your enjoyment from the game, as losing 7-0. That's just my opinion, but I think a lot of other blitzers would share that opinion as well. So now this video is about why it's so important to spot and scout, because it's missing in the game. It's just not happening. I've gone through games where I've seen the light tanks or medium tanks just not doing their job. And if you don't spot, you can't win. Blitz is like chess in many ways. I've said this before, right? So you've got different pieces that do different things. And the light tank is extremely important in doing its job. Now you're given a toolbox to do that. And the key toolbox that you're given are the following: view range, your speed and power to weight ratio, and your concealment numbers. Now your view range tells you how far you can see, and if the enemy comes within that, you can see them, right? Your concealment numbers basically show you how difficult it is for you to be spotted. If you're in a light tank, I'm going to concentrate mainly on light tanks in this, although if there are no light tanks in the team, guys, the medium tank has to do this job, right? It's simple. But if you are in a light tank, you have better concealment numbers. And you can see here, right, when we're looking at it, that a view range of 290, which is the view range of the LTTB, he remains unspotted when moving up to 218 meters. So that means that the enemy has to get within 218 meters to spot you. That means if your view range is 290, you have a huge safety margin where you can see them and they can't see you. And you use that safety margin to relay the locations of the enemy back to your teammates, right? And that basically is your job, right? And it's really, really important, right? So basically, what you do is you use your toolbox. You use your speed, you use your camo numbers, and your view range. You get out in front of your team at the start, go to different channels, you spot up the enemy, you relay that communication back to your team. It's done automatically, you don't have to do anything. You just spot them, your team automatically knows where they are. And then you have targets, the team has targets. Just think about it this way. If you spot up the enemy, and let's say you spot 5 of them in the first 30 seconds, your team has 5 targets. If the enemy team is not spotting, they have no targets. So who has a better chance of winning? It's obvious that the team who sees is the team that wins. Now look, of course, if there's really bad players on your team, it doesn't mean you're always going to win. But you have a much better chance of winning if you spot and scout at the start. It is simple. If we look here at the heavy tank, the IS-2 we're looking at now, you can see he has an inferior view range, but also he has a much inferior camo numbers. So you spot him up much easier than he can spot you. Now, I've also seen some people talk about, when I've asked them to spot, if I've been in a TD or something like that, and they say, no, I'm not spotting, I don't want to die. Or they go and spot and they get killed, and they say, oh, I'm not following you, I'm not listening to anybody anymore, I got killed again. Look, don't be fucking stupid. I'm not asking you, or nobody's asking you to go and die. That's not helpful at all to us as the rest of your team. What we're asking you to do is go and spot and scout. Spot them up. You should remain unspotted yourself, or at least if you're spotted, remain in cover. We're not asking you to just go spot them up and die. Why would anybody want you to do that? It's like joining the army, right? They don't teach you how to go and die. They teach you the opposite, how to not go and die, right? And I hope that's what this tutorial is going to be about. It's going to teach those of you who are unfamiliar with it what to do. So you've got your toolbox, and remember guys, 3 things: your view range, your speed, and your concealment numbers, right? And what you do is you use your speed to get out into a position where you can use your view range to spot the enemy, and your concealment numbers allow you to remain unspotted. Or if you are spotted, make sure you're in cover so that you don't take hits. That's what you do. In the opening 30 seconds of a game, it is perhaps the most important, because it will determine how the rest of the 6.5 minutes of the game unfolds. If you don't spot and don't scout, you are putting your team at a significant disadvantage. If you do it and do it properly, you're putting your team at a significant advantage. It's that simple. So we're going to look at some opening 30 seconds to 1 minute of games to see what you should be doing and how you should be doing it. Now, I've said that Blitz is a bit like chess, in that different pieces have different strengths and weaknesses and different roles to play, right? And of course, it's not as complicated as chess, but it is more difficult in chess in one key aspect. In that, in chess, one person controls all of the pieces. In Blitz, all of the pieces are controlled by different players, and therefore coordination is far more difficult. An opening gambit, an opening strategy as you have in chess, is not controlled by one person but by different individuals. Therefore, we need the players controlling the light tanks to understand their role, and their role is the eyes of the team. You're the eyes of the team. If you don't view your role, your team is blind. And just think about that. If it's any other type of fight, MMA, boxing, karate, whatever, if you're blind, how much more difficult is it to win? It's a simple analogy, but I hope it makes sense. Now I'm going to look at different tiers, different nations of tanks, and different open sequence across different maps here, but the key role is always the same. So think about the toolbox all the time, using the toolbox, going out, using my speed, my view range, my camo numbers, and there we go, being enemy spotted up. Now I'm spotted, yes, because there's a light tank in the other team, the Type 64, but I used soft cover and then hard cover to remain unspotted longer, and then when I was spotted, to make sure I didn't take any hits. And we see that in the opening sequence I have spotted up the enemy, and I've also contributed to the enemy being damaged. My team knows exactly where the enemy is. Job done, right? Again, opening sequence, this is Port Bay. Key role of a light tank here is to get across and get across the river, because that is strategically important on this map. Get across the river, seize that far bank, and on the way spot up the enemy. This allows your TDs, your heavies, to know where the enemy is and to move accordingly. And even if they're moving towards A, sometimes they will often come back then to support you because they know where the enemy is, right? So we see here again, enemy spotted, and also this strategic part of the map seized. And we can start to put in some shots. We can see that their mediums and lights are now spotted up, and not only that, but now we can actually start to put in some damage onto them, and they're receiving damage from my teammates. So again, a job done. Very, very simple. And guys, there's nothing in this video I'm going to show you that no other player can't do. I'm not going to show you anything which is hugely complicated, anything that requires huge skills. It's basic, simple play, and it's basically just utilizing and understanding the mechanics of the game. Now, again, this is Yamamoto Harbor, and again, we're going to go to a key point on the map where I can use the strengths of this tank to. So again, speed, view range, and there we go. Enemy spotted up. We see already blue ribbon for spotting up the enemy, and now my team has a significant advantage over the reds in that we know where at least 3 and now 4 of them are. You can see them on the mini map, so we can have targets that we can hit. If you want to have a kind of informal objective as to what you should be doing as for spotting and scouting, spotting up 2 to 3 of the enemy in the first 30 seconds of the game is really doing your job. Anything thereafter, of course, is a bonus, but that's sort of what you should be looking at. And indeed, the ribbons that you get for spotting and scouting in Blitz are actually really indicative and really good, at helping you see if you're doing a good job or not. Really, and it was a great thing that Blitz did was bringing in those ribbons, but particularly for spotting and scouting, because if you get that blue ribbon or indeed a purple or gold ribbon at the start of the game, you know you've really done your job well. So another thing is, as I'm here, is being patient. This is one of the key things in not dying, because you can't always go to a position and spot up immediately, but if you're patient and do it correctly, then you spot up as I did there. And then of course, if you're a more experienced player, you can do something like I'm going to do here. I've checked the setup, and I know that my view range, my speed, and my mobility enable me to do a bit more, let's say, advanced spotting scouting, which you're going to see here now. So I am going to go towards C, but am I going to just go blast through the map, and I'm going to spot up, I think, nearly the whole enemy team. As our first target, I don't stop, I just keep going, and I know where the rest of the team are going to be somewhere coming here. There we go, purple ribbon, and then we go gold ribbon. So all 7 enemy tanks spotted up, and I'm back into cover, and my team know exactly where every member of the red team is, and job done. And I'm actually going to go back now and use the speed of my tank, because I know where the enemy is. I'm checking the mini-map, I've spotted them all up. I can capture B, and we can clear off this LTDB here. He's going to take loads of fire because I've spotted him up. My entire team know where he is. He gets panicked, he stops, boom, we clear him off. There you go. So the eyes of their team gone, and B captured, entire enemy team spotted up, and basically perfect start to a game and perfect example execution of light tank play. So let's have a quick recap on the essentials, right? So as I said, this is maybe the most important role in the game, and I would say it is the most important role in the game. If you can't see, you can't win. If you can't see, you can't fight. If there's no spotting or scouting, there's generally no win. Of course there are exceptions, but I'm just talking about a general rule of thumb here. There is no win if there's no spotting or scouting. and lights should do that job, but if there's no mediums, you have to do that. Sorry, if there's no lights in the tank, the mediums have to do that job. And it's essential. It is the key to Blitz, in my opinion. It is the key role. You have a toolbox to do that, which is basically your speed, view range, and your concealment numbers. That gives you a safety margin that allows you to basically better win and to avoid taking damage. And you need to understand and use those toolboxes. If you don't understand view range, if you don't understand concealment numbers, you've no business playing light tanks. And if you do want to play them, you have to understand that. But the good news is, if you watch the light tank guide, it's all provided in there. Far more information and details on the mechanics of spotting and concealment. And there's a link in the description. So cheers, Mush. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you found it useful. And now I guess all that remains for me to say is, as always, pants off.